Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of Professionals Unplugged. I am your host Utkarsh Shukla and let me introduce you to my guest Marty. Marty, thank you so much for joining in.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Marty. So let's begin with our very basic question. Can you please introduce our audience about yourself, like who you are, what you do, anything you want us to know about you?
Yeah, sure. My name's Marty, and I was born and raised in New Zealand before moving to the USA about 7 years ago. So I was a professional cricketer in New Zealand. Always wanted to be a cricketer from a very young age, and um, always had a pretty hungry work ethic. So I was always the first to wake up and get to work in the dark and just really push myself. And I was just pretty focused on being an athlete. And fortunately, I got to live that dream. And then before moving to the US, I retired at quite a young age of 29. My wife's from the US, and it was a good time for us to come over these ways and um, help her do her studies and set up life here. So now we're living in California and very happy here. So yeah, big background in cricket. I eat, sleep, and breathe cricket pretty much 24/7, and I'm doing more of it than ever, even living in the US now, which is really cool.
That, that's really awesome. So coming from New Zealand, which is a very good cricket playing nation, then you shifted to USA. USA is pretty much emerging now, like the performance that we just saw in the T20 World Cup. That was also amazing. So can you enlighten us how your journey was in cricket in USA as compared to New Zealand? Means was it difficult for you to get into cricket in USA, or how was your experience?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, obviously retiring from cricket in New Zealand was tough. That meant I was going to enter the real world, as some would call it, and also transitioning from New Zealand to US is also another challenge in itself. Very different cultures, and so I would say the first year in the US was really challenging stage of my life. My wife and I had no money. She was studying, trying to transition out of cricket into a job, but also trying to understand the US culture. And it was a very tough year. And I think cricket was my savior. At some point, I did a bit of coaching, just a really little bit, so we could pay to go out for lunch or go out for a date when we were in the US because we just didn't have any money, and finding jobs and stuff like that was very challenging. So cricket sort of first gave us an opportunity to get a little bit of pocket money, a very minimal amount to go on a date or something like that, and it just helped me connect with cricketers and what I love, and that really helped me settle in the US. And then year on year, that just spiraled into something bigger and better. So about 2 or 3 years ago, I left my full-time job at a property management company, which I really enjoyed. And that was also a part of helping me grow in the US, which was fantastic. But cricket became so busy coaching wise that I couldn't manage both. So I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning and coaching from 5 to 7, and then I'd quickly get changed, go to the office, work till 5, then I'd coach from 6 to 8 at night, go to sleep and repeat. Um, to grow that cricket business. So it was a tough slog for a year or two to grow that, and then it reached a point where something had to give, and obviously with my cricket passion, it was going to be the day-to-day job of in the property management company. So it took some time, and then also at that time I was talked into playing a little bit. I wasn't that enthusiastic about it, but I just did it. It was a lot of fun. And then things got a little bit more serious. Um, and then after a while, I was playing for the US, which was really cool, actually. Amazing journey there as well. Got to play some international cricket, and then a year or so ago, then I was happy to walk away from that again. And definitely, my passion was as coaching over playing these days. So seeing others play and inspiring others to get out there is definitely higher on my priority than going out there and batting and bowling and stuff. So that's a bit of my journey. In a nice place now, but it was definitely a tough journey to get here.
That's really great. I think that's pretty inspiring journey. As you mentioned, you were doing your job and also working at the same time. And you have also mentioned you made it to the international team. So can you just enlighten us how was that process and how you felt at that moment?
Sorry, could you just repeat that? My earpods
Yeah,
came
no
off.
worries.
So
Yeah, I'm saying that was really an inspiring journey that you have just mentioned to us, like being working at the same time, trying to coach and also play. And did you just mention you also played for USA? Like you got selected
yeah,
for
so
USA?
yeah, so I played about a year's worth for the US. We went to some World Cup qualifiers, played a series against Ireland and stuff like that, which was an amazing experience. So it was really cool to do that. It was always my goal to represent New Zealand. Played a long time first class cricket, but never actually represented New Zealand. So it was a amazing dream to achieve playing for the US. Definitely was cool part of the journey.
Yeah. And how was the support stuff from the USA board? Like, was it good because you were also working? And in today's team, also we saw like Saurabh Mitra, he was also working at Oracle. I mean, he's still working at Oracle, and he played for US in the World Cup. So, how is that culture there? How is the USA board in types of supports?
Yeah, it's still a long way to go. And there's definitely a shortage of money there. So it is tough to pay the players full time. So there's been contracts that have sort of come and gone at times. But a lot of the time the players will just be on like daily rates when they go on tour and stuff. So hopefully, with the success of US cricket, some sponsorship and some funding will come on, and players can get those full-time contracts where they can train more, and be fully committed to it. Because at that level, you need to, because the people you're competing against definitely will be full-time. So it is a challenge that US cricket has, and I don't think people understand. Um, and a lot of people from the outside, it looks all rosy and living in the US, there must be money, cricket, but it's not that. It's not there yet. There's definitely a lot of challenges everyone faces within US cricket. But hopefully we can use this momentum from the World Cup to generate some more revenue and use that money very strategically to grow the game, not just at the highest level, but underneath it as well.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point that you have mentioned. And also in USA team, there are more of a people from outside of USA than USA itself. So what are your points on it? Because it seems like people from USA are not much involved in the cricket, but it's like people from other countries are finding opportunities in USA cricket and they are coming here. So do you think there will be a change where US people will be more towards in cricket nowadays?
Yeah, I think so. I think when we talk USA people, I think we're talking perhaps with Asian origins but are born here. So they might look like they're from India, but they're gonna
Yeah.
talk like they're from the US. I think that's more gonna be what it's gonna look like. So they're Americans to me. Um, Hopefully we can capture a little bit of the baseball market or something
Yeah.
along those lines, as long as we're getting enough TV coverage. And but yeah, I have a lot of family in Missouri here because my wife's American. They were able to follow a bit of the World Cup and see it on TV. But that might be more of a case that because they know I love cricket, they are following. So we're not there yet. Um, and there is a massive expat community in the US. Like we're talking 30, 40 million. So it's a huge number of people. But hopefully we can tap into the full blown American, once we can get into some schools and show them the sport as well. They're not just going to watch it on TV and think, oh yeah, this is great. We actually got to show them and let them enjoy it as well. So I think that's the key.
That's great. So, what were the biggest challenges that you have faced while in cricket, like trying to get it to the national team? What was the biggest challenge for you?
I think facilities would be by far the biggest challenge. There's not a lot of grass pitches um, to play on. There's not a lot of practice nets to practice on. I'm lucky in the sense that I built a cricket net in my backyard because I coach there, so I'm able to train. It's not perfect because it's concrete rather than turf, but having the players practice and play on turf more often, and also have more high standard cricket to play on. So they're regularly competing at a high level. So they're not just going from, say, local club cricket to international cricket. That's a big jump. So not just the physical skills, but the mental skills to be competing at a high level consistently is really important. So there has been an uptick in more competitive cricket recently and more turf pitches, but we still need more and more of that. I would say is a massive key, and the kids need to be playing on turf wickets from a young age. If as they can play on concrete sometimes, but not all the time, I would say.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you this on this point. Like more early at the age you expose the children to the turf that is being getting used in the international matches, the more easy will be for them to cope up with the new changes. Right. So, any story you like to share with us from your journey till now? Any story that you think should be heard? I know there must be a
Yeah,
lot.
I think I mean my journey from New Zealand to US is probably my biggest story from going from a lovely life of playing cricket and traveling and being known, I guess, to being a very small fish in a big ocean in the US and restarting life here would probably be one of the biggest hurdles I've overcome. But at the same time, a really beautiful um, journey and something that gave me tremendous strength and something I can look back on and be grateful for to where I am now. So I think that's the people talk about the US dream, but it is there. It's a country that if you really do put your head down and willing to work hard, there's so much opportunity. Um, so I think that's it. And now just motivating and helping today's youth in the US with cricket and walking them through life as well, and using the challenges that come through cricket mentally to help position them better in life and in cricket is my story, and what motivates me to get out of bed each day is just trying to help each person that I'm connected with. That's what really motivates me.
That's really great journey of you that you have just told us, and it's really important to help each other in order to grow more, in order to grow the community. I think that is what you are trying to build in US. So, I mean, what was the main reason for you to move from New Zealand to USA?
Yeah, so my wife was living with me in New Zealand, and she wanted to study her master's over here. So um, I wanted to support her in that, and for me, it's we have to give for each other, and like even moving here, she let us move to San Diego, which was a place I was very keen on. It's got an incredible climate. It's got really good surfing. So it's a really great place for us to be based. Whilst I never expected to be doing cricket here, it's I'm doing more cricket than I could ever imagined, and I get to go surfing daily, and so it was for her, and then it's just she gave back to me by letting us move to somewhere that's not really cold or really hot or that doesn't have any cricket. So that was the main reason.
That's really great. I think the sacrifices pays off. Like that, you got a chance to play for USA and now coaching people. So, what are the biggest challenges you face as a coach, like coaching new people, or sometimes because since cricket is not that much popular in USA, so sometimes it must not be easy for you to tell the rules as well, because USA is more of a baseball country, right? So, what are the challenges that you face while coaching?
Yeah, there's a couple of challenges. Often the parents are the most challenging because they've filled their kid with so much advice that they're so tight and they're not thinking for themselves. And they put so much pressure on the kid that, for me, I want the kids to be loose, and this applies to adults as well when they're playing with other adults, is they're either too old school or they're not educated on how the mind works and stuff like that. So kids are very tight, worried about going out, worried about this, worried about technique, rather than simply learning on their feet, willing to make mistakes, and playing today's modern game. So that's probably the biggest frustration, is these kids are often stuck in this very tight-minded spot where they're not willing to learn or take risks because of the consequences from potentially their teammates or parents that have ingrained into them risk and don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. So trying to overcome those hurdles and let them be free and willing to learn and willing to make mistakes in games and think for themselves would be the biggest challenge for me, because I'm not silly enough to know that the game has changed a long, long way. And if you are not willing to be aggressive and express yourself in today's game, then you're really limiting how far you're going to go. But sometimes it's really hard to rewire their brain because they've been told so many times and they've been given consequences for going out and stuff like that, rather than parents looking at the bigger picture and letting these kids expand and grow and make mistakes and learn. Because I think that's life as well. Is you're gonna make mistakes. It's more how you process that and move forward, rather than trying to live a mistake-free life. And cricket is definitely not a perfectionist sport. And a lot of these kids are coming from engineering backgrounds and stuff like that. So they want everything to make sense, but not everything is going to make sense on a cricket field. So that's probably one of the biggest hurdles. And then the other one would be trying to have good cricketing conversation with other coaches, selectors, and stuff like that, where not always they have the big cricketing background. So some of the conversations you're like, oh, I don't know what's going on there, but it's you just got to accept that. Whereas if I'm in New Zealand or England, those conversations are really easy. Each other we understand, and then I might have that same conversation with someone in the US, and they're just not getting it or thinking completely different because they've had less experience with the game.
I totally agree with you on this point. I mean, that was the main question to ask. I mean, this should have been your biggest challenge, to communicate the rules and regulations to the people who are just like new into this cricket, out to the cricket game, right? And it's really amazing to see like how enthusiastic you are in order to teach people and make them realize that you should not try to make sense every time. Sometimes you need to go on and play and learn from the play itself, rather than having the external pressure from the surroundings from yourself, right? That's a really valid point. So if you like to give one advice to someone who's trying to join the cricket or the young athletes, what it would be?
Just have fun. Enjoy all aspects of cricket. Fielding, batting, bowling, being around your team, just the full package, rather than taking your enjoyment from how many runs you score, because that's very uncontrollable, and more often than not, you'll fail. So for me, anyone that's looking to play cricket, they should enjoy the full experience. There's absolutely some success you can have every day, whether that's being a great teammate, being a good fielder. You'll get some runs sometimes, you'll get some wickets sometimes. So enjoying the full package, um, giving your best, and just don't be worried about mistakes. Always go for the catch and put your head up and just keep going and support your teammates. All positive when you're out there, and just understand that you'll have many times you fail with the bat, but there's so many different ways you can enjoy and have success on the field.
That's the best thing. I think you just told us to enjoy the game and to live every moment possible on the field. Rather than your individual performance, you should be more focused towards the team sports because it's a team game. So at the end, try to enjoy in a whole circle rather than being on the one side.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great. So I think that's the best point to end this interview on your advice to the young people. So thank you so much, Marty, for sharing your journey with us. It was really a great experience. And keep shining and make you as proud once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and pleasure speaking.